Hi, Si. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Ethan. Good evening. Thanks for inviting me on.
No, thank you for coming on. I was just saying before, I read your book. I've had it a while
Oh,
and I
have you?
really enjoyed it, actually. It's a great read.
Right. What's the best bit that you like out of it?
Your time in the fall's good because it gives you that other perception of the band, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you know about the fall then?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into your time in the fall, actually. But, with the book, is it true you started writing it because you saw somebody on Mastermind, remember you?
Well, somebody rang me to say they were watching Mastermind, and I was the answer. The guy was a Scottish school teacher, and the specialist subject, the life and works of Stephen Patrick Morrissey. Um, and the guy basically said, who was the first person to record with the Smiths? And the guy said Simon Wolstencroft. So I thought that's a sign. I've got to write a book now. It was about 10 years ago now, but it still sells a bit every year. Get a week's holiday in Skegness out of it now.
You mentioned before we started that it were like an honest book and you put everything into it.
Yeah,
Was it hard to write or easy to write?
pretty easy really. The only hard bit was writing about my old friend Andy Rourke. God rest his soul, from the Smiths, the bass player, and we both had problems, with addictions, Andy and I, like a lot of people in the music game. But it was early 1980s, 81, and there was a lot of Afghani heroin flooding the country, and it was very, very cheap, very easy to get hold of. We kind of went down this tunnel, but that was the only bit that I found hard writing about, really, about Andy.
Did not a lot of people know that you had struggled with addiction and stuff?
No, not really, unless you read my book, or you know me. But yeah, it was a ongoing thing for quite a number of years. But I'm all right now, Ethan.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Yeah.
Good, good. Well, with my musical guests, I start from the start really. When did you first take an interest in music?
Well, probably when I was on holiday with my mum and dad in Lisbon or Estoril in Portugal. There's a cabaret band on, and I just love the sound of the drums. The crack of the snare. And I thought, oh, I'd like to do that. I watched Top of the Pops religiously, like most people my age did, on a Thursday night. That's all he talked about in the playground the next day. And basically, that's what I wanted to do. And I just copied people off Top of the Pops when they were playing. I didn't have any lessons. And, sometimes I wish I had learnt to play, to read the music, but I never did. But I've done all right out of it. I don't regret anything.
Did you have any favorite drummers that you look up to or that inspired you?
Yeah, I like John Bonham from Led Zepp. Most of my favourite drummers are black guys, Tony Thompson from Chic, Mel Gaynor, Simple Minds. I'm not really a jazz player though. I come from the punk days when I started altering grammar. Was in a punk band with Ian Brown and John Squire, who were in my class. We started a band called The Patrol when we were 15, and that's how we started out really. And we liberated, John Squire and I, my drum kit, my first drum kit from the school, because nobody was using it. And we said, can we borrow it for the summer holidays? But no, you can't. So me and John took it. But years later, I took a new drum kit round to replace it when my book came out, to make up for it. And I think it went to good use, really. Don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
What was it like that time in the patrol then? Like one of your first proper bands?
yeah, well, we just did some local gigs in Manchester. We supported a guy called, well, the guy that, The Alarm, Mike Peters. He was in a band called 17, a mod band. That was one of the gigs we did. But we did do our own stuff in village halls in Cheshire and Sale Youth Club, the Sale Annex. We were just learning, really. We were only 15, 16. And then after that, basically, Ian went travelling, around Europe, and I met Johnny Marr, and that's how I ended up turning the Smiths down. You
Does
see,
it seem crazy saying that when you say it now, turning the Smiths down?
Yeah, I did. I just didn't like the music. I was into jazz funk, British jazz funk. I mean, I've been into sweet, then punk, then two-tone, and then jazz funk, British jazz funk. Bands like Beggar and Co. and Incognito, that kind of thing. That's how I get my name, Funky Si, my nickname. You see.
That was Johnny Marr, on it that gave you that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I just like to play in that style. Left to my own devices. I used to love watching Starsky and Hutch, the TV cop show, American, because of the drums on it, the theme tune, just brilliant. I really got off on it. So that's my favourite thing, really, funk.
You
But I forgot, what was your question?
know, about Johnny Marr giving you the nickname.
Yeah, yeah, he just said, come on, funky side, do your stuff. And Andy Rourke was dead funky anyway, because he played a song. We had a band called Freak Party, tried loads of different singers, about 8 or 9, didn't work. We got arrested, the three of us, in connection with a stolen Lowry print. And after that, Johnny laid low for a few months, rang me back. So I've got this singer called Stephen Morrissey. Will you join the band? Please join the band, please. I said, oh, I don't know. I didn't want to be in a freezing cold rehearsal room in Ancoats rehearsing in the midwinter, especially since I had addiction problems. The last thing I wanted to do. And I turned up eventually. I think he actually bribed me with a bag of weed, apparently. I didn't know this. This is what Johnny says in his book, Johnny Marr's book. And I went down, and Morrissey came with his carrier bag. Andy Rourke wasn't there, though, that day. If Andy Rourke had been there that day, I would have probably joined, because Andy would have put a bit more funk into it. But we're singing about the Moors murders. I didn't like the I didn't like the cut of his jib, is what I say in my book. And I didn't, although I did see him about 2 or 3 years ago, Morrissey, in Altrincham, not seen him for years. And I went up to him and hello, and he sort of went back like that. I thought I was going to punch him. And then he realised after about 10 seconds who I was, and he started asking about the fall because Mark E. Smith and Morrissey, I think they had they admired each other. Do you know what I mean? Not in a sexual way, but as artists, speaking the mind. So yeah, I just said, oh no, it's not for me, this Johnny. But I played, Suffer Little Children was one of the tracks. Really not a million miles away from British jazz funk.
That's the thing as well. Like them first two songs to start with are pretty deep out there.
Yeah,
If it had been like Hand in Glove and This Charming Man, do you think you'd have
yeah. Oh, what
preferred that?
difference does it make? Yeah, yeah. Well, I learned to really love the Smiths, when they started beefing the sound up. By the sort of second, third, well, they only did a few albums, didn't they? They only lasted for about 4, 5 years, was it? But all that multi-track and guitar stuff, what difference was it, mate? What difference does it make? When I first heard that, I thought, wow, this is it. This is, I should have joined now. And I got really depressed about it. But then along came the fall and, dug me out of, this situation I was in. It was making me feel depressed and self-medicated.
Was that from turning down the Smiths that made you feel like that?
Yeah, absolutely. It could have all been mine. And overnight, they were huge, on top of the pops every week. Um, and so, I thought, oh my God, what have I done? And I went to learn to be a chef, trainee chef for the council in Manchester. I did have a little brief dalliance with Terry Hall from the Colourfield. Johnny's wife was working at Vidal Sassoons, and Terry Hall used to come in Manchester. And he said, I'm looking for a drummer. Do you know anybody? He put me forward. I went for an audition in Leamington Spa, and I got the gig. And we went up to Time T's TV in Newcastle to do a live show called The Tube. That was 1984. And I was still actually under the influence. And looking back on it now, Terry must have seen me and thought, bleeding hell, what who've I hired? you know. So that didn't work out. But you can still see it, the clip on the Tube with the colour field that did.
When it didn't work out with Terry Hall and the Colourfield, was you close to giving up at that point with music?
Yes, I was, and that's why The Fall, when they came along, um, it was a lifesaver, really. And Marky Smith kind of, I owe everything really to him. The fact that I'm still in a band now, down to Mark, because I did 11 years. I joined in '86 with The Fall. I had a little audition with them. I was in the support band called the Weeds, and they took us on to Scotland, The Fall did, supporting them. And then one day in London, Mark Eastman sacked his drummer, and I was driving the van home to Manchester with the Weeds, and he knocked on the window. Can I have a word with you, Cot? And I basically said, yeah, get in. And he said, how do you fancy joining the band, Simon? And I went, well, I'm learning to be a chef. Can you match my wages that I'm getting as an apprentice chef? He says, yeah, of course we can. For 6 months, yeah. Can have it in writing. And he got an Embassy cigarette packet, which was a brand that we both smoked, Embassy. And that was it. Did the 6 months. And then got signed by Beggars Banquet, the record label, and the wages went up. And it was, brilliant. And that's what pulled me out of the doldrums, if you like, after turning the Smiths down. So I owe everything to Mark, really. I could have gone right downhill.
Yeah. Before we go to the Fall, you mentioned that the Patrol with Ian Brown and John Squire was
Yeah,
more of a punk band. Was you
yeah.
surprised years later when they went down that like indie pop route?
Um, Not really, because we were modelling this ourselves, the Patrol, and the Clash, really. Me and John Squire were massive Clash fans. We used to follow them around on tour, travelling down to London and skipping on the milk train, um, getting a bed and breakfast now and again, jibbing trains, and we loved it. But Ian was more into the Pistols, but it was more punk. I think John Squire, he just got better on guitar. Learnt a lot of guitar from Generation X, the band, I think. Know his style.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, but definitely took that on board, John. He went down a poppier route. Yeah, they were into the '60s bands, the Birds and whatnot. Ian was into all sorts. We all were. We were into the Specials. They were great years, when the three of us would go there. But it was a great experience, a learning thing for us. And that's how the three of us started, our pop career, if you like.
Well, you mentioned you joined the Fall after supporting them on tour with the
Yeah.
Weeds. What were your first impressions seeing the Fall and Marquis Smith?
I knew Marky Smith could be a bit tricky, and he'd be shouting at people and sacking people because they had, a ponytail or they were wearing shorts. You weren't allowed to do that in the band. But, the Fall, though, just released This Nation Saving Grace, which was, for me, is the best album The Fall ever did. It's the one just before I joined, with Carl Burns on drums, actually, I just started working with Carl Burns again in House of All, this new band of ex-Fall members. We're on to our third LP at the moment, and they're going on the road. We're not playing Leeds. We were talking about that last night. Why aren't we playing Leeds? Played
Really?
at Sheffield last year, the Lead Mill, but not Leeds. We should be playing Leeds. So hopefully, when we come over, you'll have to come and have a look.
Yeah, definitely. You were on the
We
radio
are
last night, weren't you?
for them.
Was the band on the radio last night
Yeah,
promoting the
on
album?
Mark Riley session. Yeah, did 4 tracks. Brilliant. That's the third time we've been in. We've done this is the third album. We are playing Huddersfield actually. If you fancy it,
Yeah, that's not too
sometime
far.
in March. Let me know. If you want to come.
All right, yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
and a couple of mates.
Yeah, nice one.
But yeah, the Fall, This Nation Saving Grace, fantastic. And I didn't really know much about the Fall up until then. There was a lad at school when we were at school, Ian and me and John, called Andy Wake, and he was a big Fall fan. He used to bring the singles in. Go, look what I've got. And I thought, oh, I don't think much of the cover. And he'd go on about it, but it wasn't until this Nation Saving Grace that I really paid attention to the fall. And so when he asked me, I thought, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And straight away, it was, in big studios and going to America and just the life that I'd always dreamed about that I thought I'd never get after turning down the Smiths. I didn't think I'd get another chance, but I did. So that's a good thing.
What was it like recording Ben Sinister?
Uh, Brilliant. The first track on it, Realm of Dusk. Mark had said, right, play the drum side like Safari, the Safaris, this band from the 60s, Wipeout, like that, which I did. And it was just a magical experience. That was the first thing we recorded with them, as I remember it, in Abbey Road, in that massive number 2 studio where the Beatles were. And it has got a proper vibe, that room. It really has. I don't believe in, ghosts and all that, but it's a great vibe in that room.
What was your favourite Fall album that you recorded?
Probably Ben Sinister or Extricate,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was 1990. That was the most successful Fall album of all. And also Martin Brahma, who's House of All singer now. He played on that. And in fact, I saw that was in 1990. And we went on a world tour, and I lost touch with Martin. Didn't see him for 30 years. So I went for a drink in Charlton up the road here, and he was there. And that's what got the idea of getting House of All, this new band of ex-4 members doing our own material. That's how it came. So that, yeah, I've got fond memories of Extricate. Martin actually got sacked while he was there with a girl keyboard player in Australia, which was a bit sad. And I never saw him again until about 2 years ago. By chance.
That's crazy, that isn't it? Just coincidence that you went into the pub and you were there.
Well, actually, I was trying to poach his keyboard player, as it turned out. And the keyboard player, John Morani, said, "You don't mind if I bring Martin along, do you?" And I said, "No, not at all." And so that's how we met, and that's how we got the ball rolling in the beginning. So,
I think some of your best Fall drumming was on I Am Curious Orange.
yeah, it's a
What
good one, that.
did you prefer songs like Cab It Up and Last Natch where your drumming is driving the songs?
Yeah, I think so. That was a Ian Brody production, I think. He did a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
work on that. Very, very clever guy. Ian Brody, the first time I joined the Fall in '86, my first drumming session was with Ian Brody on the track Hey Luciani, which was a play that Mark E. Smith wrote, of course, about John Pope Paul I, who died after about 3 weeks of being the Pope. There was a bit of, oh, God, who killed him? Was it the mafia? Nazis, what was it? Mark wrote a play about it. And there's actually an exhibition in London. There's a guy called Lee Bowery, who was an Australian lad, gay lad. He's basically, what's the word? London socialite. He was for years, mates with Boy George. But we used to go out with him, and he used to on the tram, on the tube. There's like a motorbike out with great big spikes coming out. People wanted to batter him. It was a nice lad, but he's got an exhibition down on the South Bank at the moment. It just reminded me I need to go and see that. It
Yeah.
might be Victoria. Is it the Victoria and Albert Museum? One of the bigger museums, anyway,
All
in
right, nice.
London. Lee Bowery, yeah. So I went off the track there a bit. What we say?
No, just the I Am Curious Orange album. I thought that was your best drumming with the Fall.
Right, okay, yeah. I think there's good bits of drumming on all the albums,
Oh
really.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But a lot of the time, Mark would only give us one shot at it. So we'd go to a studio unprepared, and he'd be drunk, and we'd be working it out, the rest of the band in the afternoon. He'd be in the booze, I'd come home, come into the studio, right, let's get cracking. What's that crap? You have to play it faster. That 1, 2, 3, 4. And so it wasn't really prepared, a lot of the time. But I think there's good drumming on all the albums I played on, but just probably not all the tracks, if you know what I mean. we didn't have a chance to, perfect it. It's a bit like House of All now, actually. There's no preparation for it. We just book the studio, no ideas, no rehearsals, no nothing. We'll go in. I'll start playing. I fancy doing this kind of a beat, and everybody join in, and then Martin will, do the words after. That's how it works. So we've got to do the whole album in 3 days. Some people, as you know, spend 3 days getting a kick drum sound, at £1,000 a day, big studio. So, I Am Curious Orange is a good one. Yeah, you're right.
Like Mark would have ideas on his dictaphone of
Yeah.
just different random things. So if
Uh-huh.
he had an idea of a song, would he? Is this how more songs happened? Like he'd play it to you and you'd work out what you'd drum on that song.
Um, well, towards the end of my time, it was a bit like that. But when Dave Bush was in the band on the infotainment scan, we all went round to Dave Bush's home studio in Stockport, the band, and we sort of did it at our own time, our own leisure, and that worked really well. Sometimes he'd just have a load of voices, on a dictaphone. He'd tape people in the room. He used to get a lot of his ideas out of the local Jewish Gazette. He used to live in Prestwich, Mark, and all the headlines that they had, he'd use that for a song title, stuff like that. So it worked both ways, really. But more often than not, he'd come in and rubbish what we were doing, as we were recording it, get us to do it again from scratch, which kind of got a bit annoying. But hey, we're getting paid, got a good wage, back in '86.
Yeah.
Sometimes we didn't work for months, I've just been playing pitch and putt all day with my mate in Withenshaw Park.
Was it all? Did it always feel like that in the band then? That he was the leader, kind of thing. Just
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I got on with Mark, I really did at the beginning when I first joined. It wasn't until Brix left him, Brix Smith, his wife, or he left her actually, that he kind of went off the rails a bit because the girls he was with weren't as strong, keeping him in check as Brix was. And that's when I kind of started to go, I'm not sure anymore. I just kept doing it really till the money ran out. Um, you know, um, so I lasted 11 years, so it's not bad.
no, no. Um, I agree with what you say in the book as well. That with the fall there is a lot of hidden gems, but you've got to dig through a lot of songs to find them, haven't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, yeah. Some people say, "Oh, I've never heard of The Fall. Can you suggest a song to listen to?" I always say, "Hit the North,"
Yeah.
which is my period. Hit the North, or Mr. Pharmacist, another one I played on. I joined at just the right time, really. As I say in the book, the glory years. The glory years are over, Simon. That's what he said when Phonogram booted us off because he wouldn't submit any demos to the accountants who run it. They wouldn't renew the contract, and Matt said, "I'm not having this. They can piss off, And that's when it sort of started to go down. And for me, in the early '90s, between '91, '92, and '97, when I quit,
It,
and then of course I joined up with Ian again, then Ian
yeah.
Brown.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's respectable. He stuck to his ways, but
Yeah, he did.
it kind of cost him at times, didn't it?
Well, it cost him a load because he was paying all that money for all those years. Um, I mean, it was a lot. It would have been the equivalent of about 600 quid a week now. Every week, we used to get a salary. He used to make me drive up because we all lived in South Manchester. He lived in North Manchester, so I'd drive up to his house in a little semi in the Sedgley Park. We'd have a whiskey, perhaps a little bit of a line or two, and uh, he'd go, "Yeah, here's the checks for the lads," and that's it. And I'd go and drive back and go and give them to the lads down there. That's what I mean. He was we're very close, Mark and I, at first. And when we go around the touring around the world to go to a nightclub, it wouldn't be the other lot with him. It'd take me with him, to a club, wherever it was. which was great fun. He's a dead funny guy. He was really funny.
You do say in the book that he was like caring and humorous and stuff, but
Yeah,
he didn't have that
generous too.
nasty side. Yeah, but yeah, yeah.
He did have a nasty side. He could be really nasty, necessarily so. But I never had a problem with him. Although we did have a couple of fights with Mark. I did, and so when he just pushed me a little bit too far. So it's bound to happen. But I wasn't the first person in the band to have a fight with him. Mark Riley did, for a start off. Carl Burns did, the drummer. Quite a few people. And sometimes some people on the street. I remember being in Vancouver. We'd only just got there from the airport in a minivan. And somebody just came up to him and smacked him in Vancouver. I don't know why. I never got to the bottom of that. But it was a bit rough in Vancouver back then. I don't know what it's like now. I've not been back there for well, years. That was on the Extricate tour, I think. Maybe a bit before. Yeah.
Do you think he respected you though for hitting him, like sticking up for yourself?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But later on, because he did suffer from seizures towards the end, um, basically he had a seizure when we were. It was a bonfire night, and Carl Burns had put a load of fuel on a bonfire in his back garden, lit it, woof, went up. Mark had a seizure, and the ambulance came and everything, and he went, "It's Simon, he keeps hitting me, he keeps hitting me." It was only twice, it's a few years apart, but I had to do it. Um, I may as well tell you, but my mum had passed away. No, I won't. It's a bit depressing. But he was very insulting to me. I thought, I'm not having that. He said, people die, get over it. I know. That's why, I had to do something. I just got the redness. But let's move on anyway.
Well, I was going to say we've there's a bit in your book where you talk about Popcorn double feature coming out as
Yeah,
a single. Um,
yeah.
would you never like put your opinion forward and say I don't think there should be a single, or would you just go along with it?
I just go along with it. But well, as I say in the book, I hated that song. Thought, what a waste, because we had a big budget and everything. And it was just rubbish, I thought. That's what I mean. You have to pick through the fall, like you're saying, to get the gems, but they are there if you look, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never liked that. Yeah, popcorn double feature.
You mentioned Mr. Pharmacist as well.
Yeah,
Obviously, a cover and Victoria are the two big ones.
and
How would you
Ardeen
decide
Taylor.
what songs to cover?
Ardeen Taylor's "There's a Ghost in My House" as
Yeah, yeah.
well.
There's quite
Yeah,
a
they are
few.
all covers.
How would you choose in the band? Like which ones?
Um, well, I think we were given a list once by the NME or something of tunes to cover, and one of them was Sister Sledge's "Lost in Music," and I remember saying, "Blooming hell, can't we do that one, Mark? That'd be brilliant." I know he loves funk and he loves rap, Mark, and he said, "Yeah, all right, we'll do that." Then I was over the moon. I think that's the best cover we did. "Lost in Music," Sister Sledge. It's a really good, different way of doing it. We can, it's obviously that song, and I'm really proud of that. Really am.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, you couldn't really say, "Oh, I don't, no, we're not doing that song," because Mark was, he was paying us, and he
yeah.
set me, he set me a pension up and private health care, and when I was 55, I cashed a bit of it in and got a car and a suit out of the pension that Mark had set up, which is really, he ran it like a small cottage industry, the band that is.
Do you think that put too much pressure on him though, or sorting everything like that out?
Um, he did have managers as well to help him, but he
Ah,
just liked to keep it at that scale. He said, "Simon, as long as I've got a nice suit and a pair of brogues, a packet of cigs and enough for a pint, I'm happy." Because people were going, "Oh, with all this new technology." Remember when Fatboy Slim's record, "How About Now," Funk Soul Brother? I'd left the Fall by then, and I heard it come on the radio. I thought, "Oh my God, I've done it again. I've left a band. I've now gone massive." 'Cause I thought it was the Fall.
yeah.
But people were saying to him at the time, we can make it happen, Mike. We can tune your voice and do all sorts. But he wouldn't have it. He wanted to keep it at this, this level where he just had his suit and his pint and his cigs and go, he wasn't bothered about having a car, a nice car. He didn't want cars because you see, the police would be able to know where I was. But he did say he knew people in MI5 and whatnot, and he had friends who were Cambridge professors. I met a couple of them. Whether he's in MI5 or not, I don't know. But when we went to Tel Aviv once, we were at Manchester Airport, and he said, "Listen, lads, I've had the inside info, from MI6. You sure you want to go, lads, to Tel Aviv? Because we're flying Scud rockets over from Iraq or wherever." And we were like, "Yeah, of course we do." You know, we went. But that's just what, he said he knew people on the inside, from the government. Um, but a lot of academics like the Fall. Let's not forget, in years and years to come, they won't be talking about Shed 7 or, Blue Tones. It'll be the Fall, for the lyrical, content. That's what people will be writing about, I'm sure, in many years to come.
Yeah,
Do you see
yeah.
what I mean?
They're one of them
'Cause
bands that'll last the length of time. They'll always
yeah,
be there,
yeah,
won't they, the Fall, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. There's bands now, the kids doing sound, not a million miles away from the Fall. So they'll last for a long time, the legacy. So it's great to have been part of it. We're continuing that on now with House of Hall, no pun intended. But it's working out really good.
Yeah,
And it's great to be on the road and still getting a bit of wedge for playing, at my age, because I thought that was all behind me. So yeah, I'm all for it, I really am.
well, with the Fall, you released 11 albums in 11 years, 11 studio albums.
Yeah.
Um, that's a proper work ethic. Was it too much though at the time?
No, not really. It's just as I say, I wish we'd spent more time doing the actual album each year rather than just going in and doing it dead rushed. And then Mark would give it to the record company, and then we go on tour. It'd be like that every year. Record, tour. Got a bit repetitive, and I just wish the quality had been higher. But still, like I say about the House of All now, we're using that same work ethic that we did then. You've got to come up with something now. But I just wish we'd have spent a little more time with the Fall when we recorded a lot of the songs.
Well, you mentioned there that the Fall will always be there, in the future, however many
Yeah.
years down the line. What do you think it is about the Fall that still attracts people?
Well, I think Marky's use of the English language. Um, as I was saying, he used to get ideas out of the paper, a headline, or he'd overhear people. You like to hear with young people in pubs, old men's pubs, and listen to what they were talking about, using that for ideas. He'd write stuff about the band, Xmas with Simon as an example, which I wrote the music for. Um, so yeah, just the kind of language he uses, and the way it's strung together, it's quite genius, really. If you look into it, it's very literate. He was always reading a book, Mark, which is why I wrote the play, about the Pope after reading the bestseller by In God's Name, David Yallop, is it, who wrote it? Yeah, very literate. Always had a book when we're travelling around.
Another Manchester band you could have potentially joined was Oasis. Did you ever find out if
Yeah.
Noel was serious or not?
No, never. No, I did see him after that a few years ago at an Ian Brown gig, and he was guesting on guitar. He was, and I said, "Oh, have you got any drumming jobs?" And he just went, "No." And he got on stage and was playing this lovely tweed jacket, and somebody threw a whole pint over it. So serves you right. I'm more of a Liam Gallagher man, really.
Yeah, I
He,
am.
he
Yeah.
says it how it is, whereas Noel always thinks about what he's going to say. before he says it. I prefer the earlier.
Yeah, with he's like Liam or Noel in it. That's always the question. But I
Yeah,
think Noel does give good interviews, but Liam's more real in it.
yeah, yes, yeah. If you're walking down the street, I'd rather much more rather bump into him, and talk to Liam. I did see him about a year ago at a wake actually in Manchester, but he was great. And I said, "Oh," he said, "I've not seen you for a bit." He went, "I know when it was. It was Barcelona when the Roses were playing or whatever." Because I went over to see the Roses when they reformed, and he was in the hotel with us, knocking about and whatnot, Liam. But he must have read the book then, my book, for
Yeah.
him to remember that straight off the top like that. 'Cause he was working with John Squire as well, of course, wasn't he, last year?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So he might have picked it up from John Squire's bookshelf, maybe.
have
I
you
never got round to.
have you heard back from like musicians and mates that have read the book then?
Oh yeah, Johnny Marr. He said when it came out, he bought it, sent someone out to buy it, and I was driving down Princess Parkway, and I saw him in his Mercedes, and he'd run out of fuel. I stopped, said, "Hey Johnny, what's going on? Do you want a lift?" He went, "No, no, I'm all right. There's a tow truck coming, but I've just got your book. It's brilliant. It's one of the best ones I've ever written, biographies, autobiography." So I said, "Oh, cheers, thanks for that." So in his book, Set the Boy Free, he mentions me in it in a very nice light, which is
Yeah.
nice of him. I see Ian Brown now and again. I don't know whether he's doing any music so much anymore. I think he's doing a bit of fashion, a
Hmm.
fashion label with some Japanese lads. I wish he would do some more music though, Ian. I
Yeah.
loved his solo stuff. I only played on the Golden Greats album, which is one of the best albums, I think, with Dolphins and Monkeys on it.
Yeah, that's one of his best songs, that I think.
Yeah, I used to love doing that, playing it. Golden Gaze I co-wrote, on an old keyboard that Mark had bought me, before I quit, a Yamaha SY55. Went to pick it up in Chester out of the Loot newspaper. We used to have a Loot paper called Loot, and we went down and bought it. I wrote a Free Range was a fall song, the highest charting fall composition ever. I only got to about number 35 or something, but that was the highest charting song, Free Range, and I wrote the music for it.
What
So I do write, but not very often.
what was it like recording Golden Greats then? Because that's like 20 years after the patrol in it. So is it like a
Yeah,
full circle moment?
yeah, it's 20 years. Well, a bit more actually. Probably more like 30, isn't it? Because we started doing the patrol about 1978, 88, 98. Yeah, 22 years. It
Yeah,
was brilliant because, we'd be on tour in Japan. And I remember Ian saying, "Here we are, sir, we made it." um, and it's great to be recording, in London, with your old schoolmate. And we've still got some in jokes that me and him had. And he was living down there, though, mostly at the time, Ian, in London. Yeah, just brilliant. And then years later, I was in a band called the God. Uh, uh, I was doing a job, actually, a delivery job out of London, and I saw his car go past. I went, beep, beep, hey, is that you? He said, yeah, it's your birthday, innit? We're playing at Wembley Stadium. How do you fancy playing? Supporting the Stone Roses with your band, the God. I said, yeah, too right. And sure enough, we did. So he's done a lot for me Ian, over the years. He's really helped me, and I
well,
really appreciate that.
we mentioned like Liam Gallagher, a real guy as well, but so is Ian Brown, and he
Yeah,
seems really like a nice guy.
yeah, absolutely. Intelligent too, He sort of manages himself, really, and always has done. Um, I just wish he'd get back into the music game, see hear more of him.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
he always used to say to me, "We're still doing it, Si, the music." And I said, "Yeah, we do." But I've not heard any stuff by him for ages, so hopefully he will do sometime.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
we've mentioned the Stone Roses, the Smiths, Oasis, the Fall, like four great Manchester bands. What do you
Mhm.
think? And there's loads more. What do you think it is about Manchester and these great bands? Like, how do they? What do you think it is about Manchester that?
I think it's the size of it. There's a lot to do with it. It's not too big. It's not like London, sprawling. So everybody sort of knows each other. And of course, it's renowned for its rainfall. So when you were a kid, you could go, get in a garage and start a band up after the punk thing started. Anyway, but you're right. Yeah, we've been very lucky. There's a lot of great bands. One of my favourite bands out of the Manchester region's 10cc. Now I've got older. I never admit to that when I was younger, but I don't care anymore. What a brilliant group they were, 10cc. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many groups, isn't there? They do sort of say who's the best for music, Manchester or Liverpool. Well, they're both good, aren't they? You know,
Yeah,
and Leeds. Leeds is good too, and Sheffield. I think
yeah.
any big city.
What would you say, Manchester? Between Manchester and Liverpool, they're the best two. Well, you've got London as well, but I mean up north,
Yeah,
you've got they're the best two out of Manchester and Liverpool, definitely.
yeah. Birmingham though. What about Jeff Lynne, ELO, and the
Specials
Move?
around near that way as well, aren't
Yeah, down there, Coventry. Yeah, because that was a magical time that when the specials were at the top. The Ghost Town in the early 80s. Well, late 70s, wasn't it? 79, Two Town. Yeah, we've just been lucky. I don't know what it is about Manchester, Um, I really don't know. I think it's the size of it, really. It's just not too big. It's not a village, it's a city, but you can get from one side of the city to the other in 10 minutes, really. It's just building up and up and up now, the buildings, I mean, structurally, which I think is a great thing. And in fact, the Chanel fashion house came here, I don't know whether you heard, last year. Could have gone anywhere in the world and they came to Manchester, to do a fashion catwalk parade, whatever you call it. And they played The Fall, on one of the songs,
they?
which was
Really?
a big new print, and I played on it. And I went down to have a look. And it's all fenced off, like a million limousines everywhere. I couldn't get in. Never invited me. But I was dead, dead proud of that moment. The fact that they played The Fall and they were in Manchester, even though The Fall are from Salford. Well, Mark was. So,
Do you not class? Is that two different things then, Salford and Manchester?
yes, well, they're right next to each other, aren't they?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people are proud of coming from Salford, people from Salford, they say I'm a Salfordian, not a Mancunian.
Ah,
Salford, Manchester United, more Salford fans. People from Salford go and see United because it's literally over here, just on the border. So yeah, there's no rivalry or anything like that
with
between Manchester and Salford.
you mentioned before, you were into punk, two tone, jazz funk.
Yeah.
What is your favourite genre that you've been there and listen?
What now? Overall, just probably
Yeah,
pop music. I do love pop and brilliantly produced pop records. One of my favourite ones, Toxic, Britney Spears. I think it's absolutely genius. A song
really.
like that. Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, that's three songs in one there. On that song. It's brilliant, brilliantly put together. I like, rap. Um, I used to like all those kind of things. Stray Cats went through a phase of going to watch them, the Stray Cats. When I was very young. They had the quiff and everything. Ian Dury and the Blockheads we were talking about before. What a band, 'cause I used to do a lot of gigs with the Clash, of course. So I
Yeah.
saw the Blockheads, Ian Dury and the Blockheads, loads of times. But Mickey Gallagher, the keyboard player, he's still on the road with the Blockheads. And my mate Mike Bennett, he's took over on vocals.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he's very good and he gets a big cheer. There's a lot of lyrics in those songs, Blockhead songs. Must be really hard to learn them all, let alone sing them in a rhythm. But he's sort of from the theatre, really, Mike. Um, but yeah, brilliant. I'll go and see him again, actually, in Holmfirth. I think they're playing in March.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Picture Dome, have you been?
No, it's not too far though. But no, I've not
No.
been. Is it a good venue?
Yeah, it's great little, like I say little, it's got to be 500 at least, 600 capacity. But it's just a really nice building, you know. Should check it out. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
mid March. It is just before House of Walsall starts.
Well, I was going to mention House of All. We mentioned the album. What can you tell us about that album?
Again, it was recorded in 3 days in Ancoats at Hope Mill Studios. No preparation. We've got three drummers on it this time. We did have two drummers, now we've got three. But on the tour, we've only got two drum kits because the venues aren't big enough to have three drum kits. So we're sort of sharing and swapping over, you know, between the three drummers. Yeah, it's people are saying it's the best one we've done out of the three. And it's called House of All Souls. It's out on Valentine's Day. Uh, and then we go on tour mid-March, about 15th of March, around the UK.
Yeah, nice.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just lucky to be doing it still. You
You
know,
still enjoying it and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I haven't really got anything else, you know what I mean? I don't consider it a hobby, um, what I'm doing with the drums and the, you know, with this. It's my life, you know, it has been since I was 15, since the old patrol days.
It is some life you have lived though in and out of music, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been dead lucky, as I say. There's a million players are 10 billion times better than me, who will just end up still playing in a pub, never played anywhere. But I've been around, you know. I've been on TV and Top of the Pops, and you know, there's a lot of things I've crossed off my list. Playing Wembley Stadium, you know, incredibly lucky, considering I've never had a lesson in my life, and I just copied people on Top of the Pops, what they were doing. You know, that's how I got into it in the beginning.
I think that's better with musicians though that learn themselves than get taught because you get your own sound then, don't you? You're not just playing alongside
Yeah,
the rules.
that's right. That's what they say. You just go with the feel. You know, it's about a feeling and a personality, if you like. You know, in a band, when the chemistry of the band's made up, this bass player might not fit in. He might be a top bass player, but it's just not in the same zone as everybody else. Whereas this House of All, we are in the same zone because we were all in the fall at one point or other, not all together. Me and Steve Hanley were in the band for the whole 11 years. But Martin Bram, as I say, the singer, he was only in it for a year on the Extricate album. So I never really got to know him very well back then. I still don't know him that well now. He's our guru, Martin.
You mentioned Andy Rourke before. He was a good mate of yours. It's
Yeah,
nice to see him finally getting the attention he deserves.
yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, it was nice that Johnny had invited him when he was very poorly, Johnny was playing Madison Square Garden, and he invited Andy on. That was his last big gig. Andy was brilliant, as you know, underrated and everything. I'm glad they got a mural now for him in
Yeah,
Manchester, in the Northern Quarter. I went to the opening of that, and he would have loved that, and his brothers were there. And I'm actually going to go and see a band called Blitz Vega this Friday, at Band on the Wall in Manchester, who also worked with Andy Rourke later on, you know, before he got poorly, and did an album with him. The singer's a guy called Cav Blaggers, who was a member of the Happy Mondays when the original lineup split up. They got some session musicians in. Cav Blaggers, I think he did keyboards or guitar or both. They're playing, so that'll be nice. And of course, about a year ago, the guy from the GOD discovered a tape that I played drums on. He played guitar on it, and Andy Rourke played bass with a girl called Ailey Bradley, which we had redigitalized, whatever, and it's out on vinyl. You can get it on Bandcamp. Andy Rourke's on that. And you can tell it's Andy straight away. You know, the sound and the way, you know, the way it rocks, you know. So you can still get that on Bandcamp. Ailey Bradley Project. It's Eilidh. It's like a Scottish spelling of Ailey Bradley Project. It's on Tiny Global Records. So you
yeah,
can
man.
still get that, yeah.
We've mentioned you played in a lot of great bands with a lot of great musicians. Who's the
Mhm.
musician that's made you like in awe of them at how good they are?
Probably Johnny Marr, really.
Yeah.
I think he's the best. As I say, he's the finest out of my generation. Johnny is. Johnny Marr, as opposed to John Squire. I think Johnny's got the edge. You know, he really has. And he's a funny guy as well, Johnny. You know, he really is. But yeah, with Andy, his ashes came back over from America and I saw him in the summer. Johnny Marr. It's just great to see him, and it was just a lovely moment. Although it was very sad, you know. And he read a eulogy in the chapel for Andy, and it was brilliant, you know. It's only a few people there, you know, very, very close family and friends. Mike Joyce was there. They were getting on, Johnny and Mike, because they didn't always, did they? You know,
No, no.
they split up. So, yeah, it'd be Johnny, in answer to your question, yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. This
Oh,
is
you
the
too,
book.
yeah.
You Can Drum But You Can't Hide. A brilliant
Hmm.
book. If anybody's interested, I'll leave a link in the description.
Oh, thank you, if you would. Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant.
And like I said, there's a lot of great stories in there, and we've heard a few great stories today. So it's been
Oh,
a
good.
pleasure to speak to you.
Thanks so much, Ethan. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you for coming on. Like
And,
I messaged you last week. You got straight back to me and stuff. So I really
yeah.
appreciate it.
Oh, no, I do, you know. Because I've seen the one about the blockheads that you did with Chaz Jankel. I thought it's all right, like, it must be good, this lad. And you are. But
Thank you. I
now,
appreciate that.
now, don't forget Huddersfield, end of March sometime. If you want to come, just let me know. I'll get you and your mates in.
Yeah, nice
The
one.
House of All.
Yeah, yeah. Good luck with the album and the tour. I'll give it a
Okay.
listen on Friday.
Yeah, it's coming out Valentine's Day. House of All Souls, it's called. But you can listen to the Mark Riley session if you're interested. It was on last night, 10th of whatever it is, February.
Put it on your store Instagram. It's on there, isn't it?
I put a little clip of it, one of the songs that we did on my Instagram at Funky Size 63, yeah.
All right, yeah,
So
nice
check
one.
it out. All right, mate, I'll let you go.
Right, nice one. Thanks a lot for that. Honestly, thank you for
Thank
your
you,
time.
mate. Keep the peace, man.
Nice
See,
one. Cheers.
see you.
See you. See
Bye.
you.